don't worry about it. It's okay if your bracket is busted. Pretty much everyone's is. The real question is, how many big leaguers are you still beating in Adam Wainwright's Big League Impact pool? Happy March Madness, everybody. I'm Tara Wellman. This is Birdseeds, and no, I will not be talking about your March Madness bracket or mine, although there is some madness to discuss of our own, but we'll get to that later. First things first, big news for the Cardinals this week. Well, as big as it gets when John Mozeliak works a spring training deal for a free agent. Ruben Tejada will be the shortstop for the time being for the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, this caused quite a bit of controversy, as everything does on the interwebs, but a lot of Cardinals fans not really thrilled with the Ruben Tejada pickup. Of course, he played for the Mets last year, was released, passed through waivers, and then the Cardinals went ahead and signed him to a one-year deal. This is, of course, as a replacement, temporary or otherwise, for the injured Johnny Peralta. I understand why some people feel like this may not have been necessary, why some people feel like Tejada may not be that much of an improvement over the options the Cardinals already had in-house. I don't really have a huge problem with it. They went out and got a guy that's played 400 games at the major league level at the shortstop position. Ground ball pitchers like the Cardinals have need defensively solid middle infielders to make that process work. This is a guy that has, an actual batting average. Not mentioning any names. Pete Cosma, I love you. Here's the thing. Diaz has played really well this spring. He's hit the ball well. He has done his job defensively, maybe not wowing people for the most part. That seems to be where a little bit of the holdup is, but the real issue for me is the fact that this is a guy who played less than 20 games at the AAA level last season and went into spring training as a guy that was probably going to get an early call-up if there was a need, but not really on the list of guys to make the major league team. And then all of a sudden we were considering him for the opening day starter. I mean, this wasn't a 2 to 3 week put a Band-Aid on it and your star will be back. This is a 2 to 3 month process, first 2 to 3 months of the season, when the Cardinals are in a division that's, well, you can't really take 2 to 3 months to figure it out. So I get it. Diaz may be the shortstop of the future, and he's done nothing to discourage that kind of conversation this spring. But in my mind, this is a matter of the Cardinals wanting someone there who's done it before. Another potentially significant piece to the Aledmys Diaz puzzle is that the Cardinals are already going to be incorporating a couple of guys that are just getting used to being everyday starters at the major league level. Stephen Piscotty, of course, to some extent Randal Grichuk, who is going to be taking on a more significant role, as will Tommy Pham, though maybe not every day. He's going to get more significant playing time. So perhaps having yet another starter or first guy off the bench kind of player that's not really proven on an everyday basis made the Cardinals lean a different direction. But it's been interesting watching some of the national media pick up on the Stephen Piscotty's and the Randal Grichuks and just how good they might be. There was even a tweet today from John Heyman talking about the fact that this Randal Grichuk guy, he has some star potential. And of course, it's Twitter, and I have had a couple of days off, so I have more time on my hands than I know what to do with. And, there have been some comparisons in the past with Randal Grichuk, comparisons of the Greek god variety. And naturally, my first instinct was this. I mean, you see it, right? Like the physique and the strength and the jawline. So I decided that, Randal, I'm going to help you out. And I've got a new profile picture for you. It's okay. Don't worry about crediting me. I think you're going to like it. Come on now. I'm not the only one that sees this. Besides Randal Grichuk, the Cardinals are going to be looking for some power. There were some comments this week about Mike Matheny and the fact that he continues to say, no, it's there. The power's going to come, I promise. It's going to be there. And I feel like he's been saying this for the last 3 or more years. There's just not that power-hitting team kind of vibe with these guys, despite the fact that there are a lot of guys on the roster that can hit home runs. If you've watched any of the March Madness coverage over the last couple of days, which, let's be honest, who hasn't, there was an interview, a post-game interview, with a player who was asked a really terrible question, but I kind of would love to see Mike Matheny answer in similar fashion. How are you going to get more power? How are you going to compete with home runs? Where do those home runs come from? Well, you see, we have these guys, okay, and they have really big muscles. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but they do. So they're going to take a bat, and they're going to walk to the batter's box. And they're going to stand there with their bat. And then the pitcher on the mound, who has a baseball, okay, he's going to throw the baseball, and the hitter's going to wait till the baseball crosses the plate. And right before it does, ready for this? They're going to swing. And when they make contact, they're going to force the ball at such a trajectory because of their big muscles and their hand-eye coordination, and it's going to fly out of the ballpark. And that's how we're going to hit home runs. One guy that's probably not going to be the most likely source of power for the Cardinals this year is Yadier Molina, at least not at the plate. He's a power source in a lot of other ways, but there's good news on the Yachty front this week, too. He took his first swings of the Grapefruit League season. I joked on Twitter that Yachty grounding out to third may be the biggest story of the spring for the Cardinals, but in reality, this is kind of that last speed bump, the last hurdle for Yachty to cross to really be able to prove that he's healthy, his hand is good, and he's ready for opening day. But the story all along has been that Yachty's version of ready and what everyone else thinks ready is might be two very different things. Can he actually physically hold on to a bat and swing it and make contact and not drop the bat in writhing in pain? Is that ready? Or is ready actually being able to handle the bat, contribute offensively, hit 280 in the first month of the season with the classic 5-6 Yadier Molina patented doubles? Is he going to be that guy? Is he going to fit into that lineup in a role that both he and Mike Matheny are comfortable with and be able to actually do something offensively? Or is he going to be a guy that, like we saw in his first couple of spring training games, he's pretty much just going to stand there and let you throw fastballs down the middle of the plate because he's not ready to swing at them? That's my biggest issue with where Yadier Molina is, and really only time will tell. That's why the next couple of weeks are so important this spring. But enough of that. This is the part of the show where I answer your Twitter questions, and there are actually questions to answer this week, so let's go. Is Marco Gonzalez ready to be the guy Matheny can trust to blow a 3-run lead in the 7th? I don't know which part of this question to answer. The part about is he the guy, or is he going to blow 3-run leads in the 7th? Because I feel like this is a 2-part question, and if you did that on purpose, I wouldn't be surprised. Here's the thing. Marco Gonzalez this spring has kind of been that guy that could look really good and then look really bad. So I have a feeling that they're going to start him at Memphis because of Tyler Lyon's experience in the Major League bullpen, but don't count it out. Later in the season, he could be your guy. Chad wants to know what the better defensive outfield configuration is. Pham in left, Grichuk in center, Piscotty in right, or Piscotty in left, Pham in center, and Grichuk in right. That's interesting. But you know, I think as much as I like Tommy Pham as a center fielder, I think Randal Grichuk mans that position just fine. I like Piscotty in right, although he's athletic enough that he could probably play wherever they put him. So by default, if I like Grichuk in center and Piscotty in right, that leaves Pham for left field. Eckstein123, which who doesn't love David Eckstein, asks, who will be the Cardinals' starting shortstop at the end of the season? I like where your head's at. Interesting question. You know, I hope it doesn't sound like a cop-out, but I feel like Johnny Peralta, because the good thing is, when he's able to come back from this thumb situation, he's gonna be pretty well rested. He's not gonna run out of steam like he did in the second half of last year. And in the first half last year, he's pretty good. I believe a lot of people were calling for him to be the MVP of the first half of the season for the Cardinals. So if he only has to play the second half, that might work out in his favor. I'm gonna go with Johnny Peralta. And now for this week's Tweet of the Week. Let me explain. This came up in the midst of the conversation, controversy, call it whatever you want, about the signing of Ruben Tejada. And my buddy and co-host on UCB Radio, Matt Whitener, chimes in with, all of this could have been avoided if Tyler Green could have just been Nomar Garciaparra. I literally laughed out loud, not just like I responded with LOL, because I actually laughed out loud. And part of it is because there's this running joke between Matt and myself about Tyler Green, because I evidently went on a bit of an epic, unforgettable rant about Tyler Green one day back however many years ago that was. And he's never forgotten it. I've never forgotten it. Tyler Green, you will never be forgotten. This may have been my favorite tweet ever. Don't worry, I'm gonna let you get back to your March Madness games now, because let's be honest, everybody's watching that and not this. But if you need your baseball fix, I got you covered. You guys had me covered this past week as you voted me through the first round of the Cards Madness Challenge. The gang over at Kangaroo Court STL started a bracket challenge of their own to determine the best Twitter person that you like to follow on Twitter. And I survived the first round, pulled the upset at that. Thank you guys for that. Keep an eye out for the next round. Here's what the matchups in my region look like. Vote for your favorite, which will obviously be me. I'm just kidding, but really. And see who wins. See who the best cards tweeter is. And of course, keep an eye out here for more as the Cardinals move on through the spring. Some questions get answered, choices are made. We'll talk about it all next time on Birdseeds.